Hi, I'm Courtney, and this is a letter to my younger self.
What would you want your younger self to know about your future?
That it's bright, and that there's nothing that you can't do. I was bullied all through school. I was not popular. I didn't have a lot of friends. I had a couple core friends. Back then, everyone thinks you gotta have a lot. You gotta have the cliques. You gotta be in with the cool people. There's no such thing as a cool person. There's just really awesome people for you. Because you can know who your authentic self is and really not be comfortable with them yet. And be like, ooh, that's really uncomfortable. Because like my most authentic self is pretty outspoken. It's still kind of uncomfortable for me to deal with conflict sometimes. Especially in my personal life. Nobody wants to have a disagreement with somebody. Nobody wants to have those conversations. My most authentic self is very transparent and just lays everything out on the table. So sometimes being my most authentic self can be uncomfortable, but once you get comfortable with it, I think there's no path that is the same as somebody else's. And whatever it is that you want, chase that wholeheartedly with all of it. It doesn't matter if it takes you 6 years to finish it. It doesn't matter if it takes you 1. It's just that you finish it in the end. Because if you don't finish it, you'll constantly question if you should have or what would have happened if you did. You could travel the world, like do the things that you want to do and that drives your passion, and do them wholeheartedly with everything that you have, or else you will look back and be like, I wonder what would have happened if I had done that. Again, going back to seeing that bright future, sometimes those things do impact you. And sometimes they might feel really small in the moment, or they might feel really big in the moment. And neither one of them are big or small. There's so many things that happen when you're young that don't have a big impact, that feels really big at the moment. Everything feels earth-shattering. And if you just had any idea what actually happens and what's actually down the road, you're sitting there going, oh, that's why I went through that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I tackled that problem. That's why I had to navigate that a specific way, or that's why I had to experience that. Because then you have this different outlook, you have this different perspective that you can bring down the road. And battling those even small differences, making it through. I didn't graduate college like everybody else did. I went to school part-time and worked full-time for years. I graduated with my bachelor's degree when I was 26, and 6 months later I got a director position at a nonprofit, and I'm now a COO. So it doesn't matter. There's no timelines. Society thinks you have this specific timeline. All my friends graduated when they were 22. They're on literally the same trajectory as me now. We all ended up at the same place, and just remembering that your path is your path, and it doesn't really matter how you got there, just that you got there in the end. I'm still a work in progress. I think everybody's still a work in progress, depending on where they are. Like, everyone's changing, ever evolving. That's the whole point. But I would say I didn't really start to become my full authentic self until my late 20s. I have phases of it. I was probably 22 when I started to find her a little bit more and really, really grab a hold of her. But making those choices that truly speak to your heart and like what you want, if you just continue to chase that, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. Just go after that. And just keep pursuing it.
I love that.
Like a constant ever like working on myself. But even recently, my most authentic self is a little different than what it was 2 years ago. So it's ever evolving, but they're chasing that wherever your heart is. When you get so excited about something that someone else looks at you and goes, what? Like, I just get super excited about a business plan, or like I get so excited about this new software we're going to use that's going to help something like that. I know that my heart pulls me there. When I'm sitting around a table and I'm getting passionate about the way that we're doing something in the community, because I know that we can make a greater impact, I know that I'm following where my heart is. Where I walk into a room and I'm smiling, even if it's work, that's where I know where my heart is. If I'm able to just kind of take a deep breath when I'm standing at the beach with my kids, I know that that's where my heart is. So it's just the kind of this centeredness, like where you can actually like assess and take a deep breath and you just feel it like that's it. That's where I'm supposed to be. But you kind of have to watch for those little cues sometimes so that you can actually feel that centeredness.
Yeah.
Ever have those moments where you're laughing hysterically and you like catch yourself in the moment that you're laughing like just so freely and you're like, oh, okay. Or you look back at a moment and you're like, I couldn't stop smiling. Like that felt so much different than this does. It's like kind of reflecting on those little things, those little pieces and the way that you authentically react to them. If you're reacting to something and you're sitting there and you're like, oh, it feels just not right. Something feels off. I feel anxious about this. I don't love the way that I'm feeling about that. I'm not present right now. My mind's running in 6 different places. You're probably not in your most authentic self in that right place. But if you're in this place and you're laughing just freely and openly and you're smiling constantly and you're feeling this sense of freedom and sense of interaction and sense of just grounding, you'll be like, oh, that's it. That's where my most authentic self is pulling. I have a huge passion for what I do, where my career is a big part of who I am. Some people don't have that same view on life. I would wager that they probably didn't find their passion just yet if their career isn't at their height or they haven't found that fire that really pulls them and draws them in to want to continue to do that. But I will say probably one of the places where I'm my most authentic self is when I'm outdoors doing something. Like I love being in the garden. I love going to the racetrack and dirt track racing. I love going fishing on the boat. I love hiking, like all of those things definitely are where I find my most authentic self. Like me talking about like if you're laughing hysterically and just freely and smiling and having a good time, a lot of the times that I'm seeing in my head is when I'm at the racetrack with my family. So there are certain things that pull, or when I'm here and I'm working with my team because we all collaborate together and we sit there and we laugh hysterically over something. I feel grounded in those moments. That is where I feel my most authentic self. When I'm with my kids and we're at the beach and I can just take a deep breath and I look out at them laughing and I'm like, yeah, okay, this is it. So you find these little things. And again, like looking back on them, you might not have recognized it in the moment and you might have even let it drift. I haven't gone to dirt track racing in years. And it's something that I'm getting back into this year. I have my bucket list this summer. So I recognized that and went, wow, I totally pushed that aside because this person in my life really didn't want me to do that and have those experiences. And that's something like, don't let anybody else stop you from experiencing life fully and exactly how you want to. I was constantly worried about everybody else's opinions, and I made decisions in my life based on other people's opinions. And something that I have learned to say over the last 5 years is never take criticism from somebody that you wouldn't go to for advice, because that's the crux. Like if there are so many things that I've made decisions about in life that I would have done so differently had I actually followed my heart and followed where my purpose was. Just remember that no matter what in life you're going through, no matter what it is. It could be personal, it could be in school, it could be not knowing what you want your future to look like, it could be 10 years down the road and you are just feeling a little lost. It doesn't matter what's happening, you get to start over. No matter what is happening in life, you get to hit the reset button. You get to be whoever it is that you want to be, even if you made some awful choices in the past, even if you got in trouble in the past, even if you didn't get good grades. I'll even give when I graduated high school, I had a 2.6 GPA. I was not a great student. I went to a big college because, again, listening to other people's opinions. I went to a big college for 1 semester, dropped out, went to part-time gen eds, had an associate to get my associate's degree, got my associate's degree at 22, and then went and did online classes for 3 years to get my bachelor's degree at 26. I know people who have gotten in trouble all through high school, even have gotten arrested, and then they turn around and they, have their own companies and they're successful for themselves, and you can overcome anything and you can reset yourself at any time. You just have to decide that you want to do that. Never stop being exactly who you are. exactly who you are. Doesn't matter if you're weird. I embrace being weird. I am a quirky person. I will embrace being weird. I will embrace being a little crazy. I will embrace being that girl that just is that girl who's just loud and fun and boisterous, and I just love life. So never stop being exactly who you are. Just be bright and be full of it and be everything that you feel.